Tom was an ordinary farmer, known in his small town for his hard work and kind heart. He lived on a quiet farm at the edge of the valley, surrounded by fields and forests. Every morning, Tom would wake up before sunrise to feed the animals and check the crops. But this winter morning was different. The sky was dark and heavy with clouds, and a cold wind swept across the fields. Tom could feel that a storm was coming. He looked at the horizon and saw the first flakes of snow falling. At first they were soft and slow, but soon the wind grew stronger. The snow swirled in the air and the temperature dropped quickly. Tom knew this was not going to be an ordinary snowstorm. He hurried to the barn to make sure the animals were safe. The cows huddled together and the chickens clucked nervously. He gave them extra feed and checked the water troughs. While Tom worked, a small town nearby was also feeling the storm. The Miller family lived in a modest house on the outskirts of the town. Mr. and Mrs. Miller had 2 children, Anna and Ben. That night, the heater in their house had stopped working, and they had tried everything to keep warm. They wrapped themselves in blankets, but the cold was relentless. When the snow started falling heavily, they realized they might be trapped inside without enough food or warmth. Tom, unaware of the Miller family's struggle, finished caring for his animals and went back to his house. He listened to the weather report on the old radio. The announcer warned of a heavy blizzard, with dangerous winds and snow covering the roads. Tom knew that many people could be in trouble, especially those living alone or in weak houses. He felt a strong desire to help. He put on his thick coat, waterproof boots, and a warm hat. He grabbed a flashlight and a bag with extra blankets and some food. Tom walked outside, stepping carefully on the frozen ground. The snow was already deep in some areas and the wind tried to push him back. But he moved forward, determined to make sure no one needed help. The roads were almost invisible under the thick layer of snow. Trees bent under the weight of ice and snow, and branches fell from time to time. Tom moved slowly, checking each house he passed. He knocked on doors and called out, making sure people were inside and safe. Most houses were empty, but he found some neighbors preparing for the worst. He helped them carry firewood and gave advice on staying warm. As he walked further, he noticed smoke rising faintly in the distance. He realized it was a house that still had a fire burning. Tom hurried toward it. When he reached the door, he knocked firmly. A woman opened the door, shivering. It was Mrs. Miller. She looked surprised and worried at the same time. "Oh, thank goodness. Our heater stopped and we have very little food," she said. Tom smiled kindly. "Don't worry. I'm here to help. Let's make sure everyone is safe and warm." He stepped inside and checked the room. The children were wrapped in thin blankets and the house was cold. Tom placed the blankets he had brought on the children and arranged firewood for the stove. He made sure the fire was steady and that the room stayed warm. Mrs. Miller looked at him with gratitude. "Thank you. We didn't know what we would do if no one came," she said. Tom only nodded. Helping others was never about thanks for him. It was about doing the right thing. He unpacked the food and shared it with the family. Even the children were smiling now, feeling safe with Tom there. Outside, the blizzard continued to grow stronger. Snow covered the fields, roads, and trees, making the world white and quiet. Tom stayed with the Miller family, checking the fire and talking to keep their spirits up. He knew the storm could last all night, but he was determined to protect them. He had no fear of the cold because he was focused on helping others. By the time night fell, the family felt calmer. Tom's presence had given them hope. The storm outside was harsh, but inside the small house, warmth and kindness filled every corner. For Tom, it was just another day of being helpful, but for the Millers it was a moment they would never forget. The blizzard raged through the night, covering the town and countryside in thick layers of snow. Inside the small house, Tom stayed with the Miller family. He knew the storm outside was dangerous and the roads would be blocked by morning. But he felt calm and focused because he had one goal: to make sure the family was safe and warm. The children, Anna and Ben, huddled close to the fire. Their faces were pale from the cold, but when Tom smiled and handed them warm blankets, their eyes brightened. "Thank you, Mr. Tom," Anna said softly. "We were really scared." Tom knelt beside them. "It's okay. You are safe now. The storm is strong, but we are stronger together." Tom checked the stove and noticed that the firewood was running low. He went outside carefully, using his flashlight to see through the swirling snow. The wind was biting and made his eyes water, but he did not complain. He knew the family was depending on him. He returned with more wood from his bag, stacking it neatly by the stove. Mrs. Miller watched him with admiration. "You are so brave, Tom," she said. "I don't know what we would do without you." Tom shook his head gently. "I am not brave. I am just helping. Anyone would do the same if they could." But inside he felt a quiet pride. The family's safety mattered more to him than anything else. As the night went on, Tom noticed a small leak near the roof. Water was dripping from the ceiling, melting the snow that had piled up outside. He grabbed a bucket and placed it under the leak to keep the floor dry. Then, using some old cloths and tape from the house, he managed to seal the small crack. It was not perfect, but it would hold until the storm ended. The children were curious and watched him work. "How do you know so much, Mr. Tom?" Ben asked. Tom smiled. "When you grow up on a farm, you learn to fix things. But more importantly, you learn to stay calm when things are difficult." Anna nodded slowly as if trying to remember every word. Throughout the night, Tom kept checking the family. He made sure the fire never went out, gave the children warm drinks, and encouraged the Millers to rest. He told them stories about his life on the farm, about the animals he cared for, and about the changing seasons. His voice was steady and comforting, and soon, the fear of the storm began to fade. Outside, the blizzard howled. Snow fell heavily and the wind shook the windows. Tom knew that if anyone outside was stranded, it would be dangerous. But he could not leave the Millers. They needed him more than anyone else at that moment. He stayed awake, listening to the storm and thinking about ways to make the family more comfortable. By midnight, the snow had piled high against the walls. The family's small home felt tiny compared to the wide white world outside. But inside, warmth filled every corner. The Millers began to feel safe even in the middle of the raging blizzard. Mrs. Miller whispered quietly to her husband, "We are lucky. Tom is like an angel sent to help us." Mr. Miller nodded, holding his children close. Time passed slowly, but Tom never tired. He moved quietly through the rooms, adjusting blankets, checking the fire, and making sure the children were cozy. Every small action was important. Every small care mattered. He understood that in a storm like this, kindness and attention could make a huge difference. Finally, as the first hints of dawn appeared in the gray sky, the storm began to lessen. The wind grew quieter and the snow seemed to slow. Tom looked out the window at the white world and smiled. The family was safe. They were warm. They had survived the night together. Anna rubbed her eyes sleepily. "Will the snow stop soon?" she asked. Tom laughed softly. "The snow may continue for a little while, but we are ready. We have enough fire, food, and blankets. We will be fine." The children smiled and leaned against him, feeling comforted and protected. Mrs. Miller thanked him again. "You stayed with us all night. You could have gone home to your family, but you didn't. We will never forget this." Tom nodded, feeling happy that he had made a difference. Helping others was never about recognition, but seeing the family safe brought him quiet joy. The first light of morning brightened the snow-covered landscape. The blizzard had not stopped completely, but it had lost its anger. Tom knew that the next hours would be busy, helping the family clear paths and checking on neighbors. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The family had survived the night, and his presence had made all the difference. The blizzard continued through the early hours, but slowly, the wind began to ease. Outside, snow still fell heavily, covering the trees, roads, and fields with a thick white blanket. Inside the Miller house, the atmosphere was calm and warm. The fire burned steadily in the stove, and Tom moved quietly around the room, making sure the family was comfortable. Anna and Ben were asleep, finally relaxed after hours of fear. Their faces were peaceful, and the warmth of the blankets had chased away the chill from their small bodies. Mr. and Mrs. Miller sat near the fire, holding cups of hot tea. They looked at Tom with gratitude, knowing he had stayed with them all night despite the storm's danger. Tom wiped sweat from his forehead, though it was cold in the room. "You all will be fine now," he said softly. "The fire is strong and we have enough wood and food." Mrs. Miller nodded. "We feel safe because you are here," she said. "You stayed when anyone else might have left," Tom smiled. "I only did what anyone should do, but I will admit, I never like to see people suffer when I can help." The children stirred briefly. waking for a moment before falling asleep again. Tom checked on them, making sure the blankets covered them fully and that the fire was warm enough. Even a small drop in temperature could make the night harder for them. He adjusted the firewood, carefully feeding the stove to keep the flames steady. While the storm raged outside, Tom thought about the farm. His animals would be cold and hungry without him, but he knew they would manage for the night. The Miller family needed him more, and he was happy to help. He also thought about the other neighbors who might be alone or in trouble. Tomorrow he would help them, but tonight he stayed focused on this house. A sudden gust of wind shook the windows. Snow hit the glass, making a loud tapping sound. The Millers woke slightly but felt comforted when they saw Tom moving calmly around the room. He spoke gently to them. "The wind is strong, but we are safe. Nothing will harm us here." His calm voice seemed to ease their fears. Hours passed slowly. Tom stayed awake, patrolling the house quietly. He made small repairs to the walls where snow had piled against them and ensured the roof leak remained sealed. Every time the children shifted in their sleep, he adjusted the blankets or moved a pillow to make them more comfortable. His actions were quiet but careful, each one showing his thoughtfulness and concern. By midnight, the snow had formed deep drifts outside, but inside, warmth and safety ruled. Mr. Miller could not stop watching Tom. "He is amazing," he whispered to his wife. "I have never seen someone so devoted to helping others." Mrs. Miller nodded. "It is rare. He is a true kind soul." Tom finally allowed himself a short break near the fire. He drank some water and ate a small piece of bread, feeling satisfied that the family was safe. Even in the middle of the storm, he felt a quiet joy. Helping others gave him a sense of purpose stronger than any challenge he faced on the farm. Slowly, the first hints of dawn began to appear. The sky was still gray, but the wind had softened. The blizzard was not yet over, but it had lost much of its power. Snow continued to fall, but it was gentle now, almost peaceful. Tom looked outside and smiled. The worst of the storm was behind them. He checked on the family one last time before the morning light grew stronger. The children were warm and asleep. Mr. and Mrs. Miller were resting near the fire, finally able to relax. Tom felt proud, but he did not boast. His reward was seeing the family safe, knowing he had made a difference when they needed him the most. As the night ended and the morning approached, the house was filled with warmth, comfort, and gratitude. The storm outside had been frightening, but inside, kindness and courage had prevailed. Tom had stayed through the long night, turning fear into security and despair into hope. The family would remember this night forever. They had faced the blizzard together, and their bond with Tom had grown stronger. He had become more than a helper. He had become a friend, a protector, and a symbol of kindness in a world that sometimes felt cold and harsh. The first light of morning broke through the gray sky, casting a soft glow on the snow-covered world. The blizzard had lost most of its strength, leaving behind thick layers of white on the roads, fields, and trees. Tom stepped outside the Miller house and took a deep breath. The cold air was sharp, but it felt fresh and calm after the long, dangerous night. Snow crunched under his boots as he walked around the yard, checking the path to the main road. The drifts were high and the driveway was blocked, but he did not mind. He had faced worse on the farm, and helping the Miller family had made the effort feel easy. The children had already woken up and peeked out the window, their eyes wide with curiosity and excitement. "Look, Mom, Mr. Tom is outside," Anna called, pointing through the frost-covered glass. Ben ran to the window, rubbing his hands to warm them. "He stayed with us all night," he exclaimed. Mrs. Miller smiled, a sense of relief and gratitude in her eyes. The family had slept more peacefully than they had in days, knowing Tom had been there to protect them. Tom began shoveling the snow carefully, making a path from the house to the main road. His movements were steady and methodical, each scoop of snow showing his determination. Even in the cold and after the long night, he worked without complaint. Helping others gave him strength, and the family's safety was his reward. As he worked, he noticed the beauty of the snow-covered landscape. The trees were weighed down with white, the fences were lined with snow, and the sunlight reflected off the icy surfaces, making the world sparkle. Despite the danger of the storm, there was a quiet peace in the morning. Nature seemed to pause, as if taking a breath after the wild night. Inside, the Miller family prepared a simple breakfast. Mrs. Miller warmed some bread and milk, while Mr. Miller made tea. The children sat near the fire, their faces glowing with warmth and happiness. They watched Tom working outside, inspired by his tireless efforts. Anna whispered to her brother, "He is like a hero." Ben nodded, smiling. "I want to help people like him when I grow up." Tom finished clearing a wide path and paused to look around. From a distance, he noticed movement on the snow-covered road. At first, he thought it was another neighbor, but as the shapes grew closer, he realized something unusual was happening. Several cars were moving carefully through the snow, their engines humming. Tom squinted, shielding his eyes from the morning light reflecting off the snow. The cars came closer and soon stopped in front of the Miller house. Flags on the vehicles caught the sunlight, and Tom's heart skipped a beat. He had helped many people before, but this was unexpected. A few men in neat uniforms stepped out of the cars, walking confidently through the snow toward him. "Tom Green?" one of the men called politely. Tom wiped his hands on his coat and nodded. "Yes, that's me," he said, curious but cautious. The man smiled. "We are here on behalf of the president. He has heard about your help during the blizzard and wants to meet you." Tom blinked, surprised. He had never expected recognition. He had only done what he believed was right, helping a family in need. I only did what anyone should do," he said humbly. The men nodded, understanding his modesty. "The president knows that," one said. "But he wants to thank you personally for your courage and kindness." Tom felt a mix of shock and pride. All his efforts through the night, the cold, the snow, the long hours, had been noticed. The Miller family gathered near the door, their eyes wide with amazement. Anna whispered to her mother, "I can't believe it. He is really going to meet the president." Mrs. Miller smiled, tears forming in her eyes. "He deserves this. He stayed with us when no one else could. He is truly special." Tom took a deep breath, preparing himself for something he had never imagined. The long night of the storm had tested him, and now this unexpected honor awaited. The snow sparkled around him, and for a moment the cold felt warm. The president's cars stopped in the driveway, and soon a figure stepped out, smiling and waving. Tom's eyes widened. This simple farmer who had only wanted to help a family survive was about to meet the leader of the country. Tom stood in the driveway, his boots sinking slightly into the snow. He watched the cars slowly approach. They were sleek and black with shiny flags on the front, moving carefully over the thick snow. At first he thought it was a neighbor coming to check on the family. But as the cars stopped and a group of well-dressed men stepped out, Tom realized this was something very different. One man approached him quickly, smiling politely. "Tom Green?" he asked. Tom nodded. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" The man gestured toward the convoy of cars. "We are here on behalf of the president. He has heard about your actions during the blizzard and wants to meet you personally." Tom's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "Me, I just helped a family. I didn't expect anything like this," the man smiled. "The president believes your courage and kindness deserve recognition. He wants to thank you in person." The Miller family had gathered near the doorway, watching the scene with wide eyes. Anna clutched her mother's hand. "Is this real?" she whispered. Ben nodded but did not take his eyes off Tom. "He stayed with us all night. He deserves it," he said softly. Tom looked down at his boots, feeling shy. He had never imagined his simple actions would reach so far. Helping a family during a storm had felt natural to him. But now, he realized that kindness could be seen and appreciated by many people, even the president of the country. A car door opened, and a tall man with a warm smile stepped out. Tom's eyes widened. It was the president himself. He walked toward Tom, extending his hand. "Tom Green," he said, his voice calm and friendly. "I wanted to personally thank you for what you did last night." Tom shook his hand, feeling both nervous and honored. "I only did what I thought was right," he said humbly. "I just wanted to make sure the family was safe." The president nodded. "That is exactly why your actions are remarkable. In a dangerous storm, you stayed calm, brave, and selfless. You could have gone home, but you chose to help others. That is the kind of courage we need more of in the world." Tom looked back at the Miller family, who were smiling and waving. The children seemed amazed by the entire scene. Anna whispered to Ben, "I can't believe Mr. Tom is standing with the president." Ben nodded, eyes wide. "He really is a hero," the president continued to speak. "I also want to say that your story is inspiring. It shows that ordinary people, like farmers and neighbors, can make a huge difference in the lives of others. Your kindness saved a family, and it reminds all of us what community and humanity mean. Tom felt his cheeks warm. He had never imagined that helping a family during a snowstorm could lead to such attention. But he remembered the fear and worry in the children's eyes last night. He remembered how the family had trusted him completely. That memory was his true reward. The president turned to the Miller family. "You're lucky to have someone like Tom here," he said. Mrs. Miller nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "We are more than lucky. We are blessed. He stayed when we were scared and cold, and he made us feel safe." Tom looked at the president and said quietly, "I never thought anyone would notice. I just wanted to help." The president smiled warmly. "Sometimes the world needs to notice good people. Your story will inspire others to act with courage and kindness just as you did." The children ran up to Tom and hugged him tightly. "You're the best, Mr. Tom," Anna exclaimed. Tom laughed softly and patted their heads. "You're very brave, too. Always help others when you can, okay?" The children nodded enthusiastically. The president took a few moments to talk with Tom further, learning about the farm and the long winter nights he had spent caring for his animals and neighbors. Tom explained how he always tried to help when people needed him. The president listened carefully, nodding in appreciation. As the meeting came to an end, the president smiled at Tom one last time. "Thank you again, Tom. Keep doing what you do. The world needs more people like you." Tom felt proud but humble. He knew that helping others was not about recognition. It was about doing what was right. The convoy of cars slowly drove away, leaving the farm and the Miller family in a quiet, peaceful morning. Tom turned back toward the house, ready to continue helping in any way he could. But now he also carried with him a new feeling, the knowledge that kindness could touch the hearts of many, even leaders of the nation. After the president's convoy left, word of Tom's bravery spread quickly through the small town. People who had heard about the blizzard and the Miller family's struggle were amazed that one man had stayed through the storm to protect them. Soon neighbors, friends, and even people from nearby towns began talking about the farmer who had acted selflessly. Tom returned to his farm, but he could not rest. Even though the storm had passed, there were still challenges. Snow blocked the roads and animals needed care after the long, cold night. But every time he checked his fields or fed the animals, he saw neighbors smiling and waving. The town was buzzing with gratitude, and everyone wanted to see him. By midday, the community decided to organize a small celebration. They set up a hall with decorations, tables filled with food, and banners praising Tom's kindness. The Miller family arrived early, bringing flowers and gifts for the man who had saved them during the blizzard. The children could hardly contain their excitement. Anna whispered to her brother, "I can't wait to tell everyone about last night." Ben nodded. "He is a real hero." As more people gathered, Tom felt a little nervous. He had never sought recognition for his actions. Helping others had always been natural to him. Standing in front of a crowd, smiling and looking at all the faces made him feel shy, but he also felt proud. The storm had tested his courage, and now the community was showing him respect and gratitude. The mayor stepped forward to welcome everyone. "Today we celebrate the courage and kindness of one of our own," he said. Tom Green showed us all what it means to care for others. During a dangerous blizzard, he stayed with a family in need and made sure they were safe and warm. We honor him today not just for his actions, but for the heart behind them. The Miller family came to the front, holding the hands of their children. Mrs. Miller spoke first. "We cannot thank Tom enough," she said, her voice full of emotion. "He stayed all night during the storm, kept our children safe, and gave us hope when we were scared. We will never forget his courage and kindness." Mr. Miller continued. "Tom is not just a helper. He is a protector, a friend, and a true example of the best in all of us. Our family will always be grateful for what he did." The children stepped forward and hugged Tom. "Thank you, Mr. Tom," Anna said. "You are the best." Ben added, his small face shining with admiration. Tom smiled, feeling warmth in his heart. "I only did what anyone should do," he said humbly. "If I could help, I did. But seeing everyone safe and happy is the best reward I could have." The crowd clapped and cheered, their applause filling the hall. Even Tom could not help but feel proud of the moment. As the celebration continued, people shared stories of Tom's kindness. Neighbors talked about how he helped during other storms, how he repaired fences, and how he always checked on those who needed assistance. His actions during the blizzard had been the most visible, but the community already knew that helping others was a way of life for him. The local news team arrived to record the event. They asked Tom to speak about what happened during the storm. He told the story simply, explaining how he wanted to help the Miller family and how he did not expect any recognition. His honesty impressed everyone. People felt inspired, realizing that acts of kindness, no matter how simple, could make a huge difference. By the end of the day, the celebration had brought everyone together. Friends, neighbors, and families shared laughter, food, and stories. Tom remained humble, quietly accepting the gratitude around him. The storm outside had been harsh, but inside, the warmth of community and appreciation made everyone feel connected. The Miller family stayed close to Tom, grateful for his presence and care. Anna and Ben would remember this day forever, learning the power of courage, kindness, and helping others. Tom's actions had shown them that one person could make a big difference. As the sun set and the hall emptied, Tom returned to his farm. He looked over the snow-covered fields and smiled. The blizzard had passed, but the lesson remained. Courage and kindness could inspire not just one family, but an entire community. And that was the greatest reward of all. The town was still buzzing from the celebration when news of Tom's bravery spread beyond the small community. Reporters called and messages arrived from people in nearby towns who had heard about the farmer who had helped a family during the blizzard. Everyone seemed inspired by his courage and kindness. Yet Tom remained humble. He continued his daily work on the farm, tending to the animals, repairing fences, and checking the fields. Helping others was part of his life, and he never sought praise. The Miller family visited him often, bringing warm meals and small gifts of gratitude. Anna and Ben loved hearing Tom's stories about the farm, the animals, and the changing seasons. "You are the bravest person we know," Anna told him one afternoon as he fed the chickens. Tom laughed softly, shaking his head. "I just did what anyone should do. But I'm glad you are safe and happy." One morning, as Tom worked in the snowy field, he saw cars approaching from the main road. His heart beat faster, wondering who it could be. The convoy stopped near the farm, and a familiar group of men stepped out. This time it was not only reporters, they were accompanied by a representative of the president. Tom paused, wiping his hands on his coat as he approached the visitors. "Tom Green," said the man with a polite smile. "The president would like to recognize you in a special way. He has been following your story and the impact it has had on your community." Tom felt a mix of pride and disbelief. He had never imagined that helping one family could reach so far. Inside the car, the president stepped out and waved warmly. His presence was calm and reassuring. "Tom, your courage and kindness have inspired many," he said. "We wanted to thank you personally again, and to show our appreciation for your selfless actions during the storm." Tom shook the president's hand, still feeling humble. "I only helped a family. I did not expect anything in return," he said softly. The president smiled. "Sometimes the world needs to recognize people like you, because your story reminds everyone of the good that exists in people. You have shown that courage and kindness are more powerful than fear and danger." The president handed Tom a certificate of honor, recognizing his bravery during the blizzard. The small plaque had Tom's name engraved with words praising his selfless actions and courage. The Miller family stood close by, beaming with pride. "This is well deserved," Mrs. Miller said. "Tom stayed with us when we were scared and cold. He gave us hope. Even Anna and Ben were excited." "We can tell everyone you are a hero, Mr. Tom," Ben said, his small voice filled with admiration. Tom smiled at them. "I hope you will remember that anyone can be a hero in their own way. Being kind and brave helps everyone, not just one family." After the visit, the president's team took photos of Tom with the family and shared his story with local news outlets. People were inspired to help neighbors, friends, and even strangers during times of need. Tom's simple act of kindness had sparked a wave of good deeds. Back on the farm, Tom continued his normal routine. The fields were covered with snow, the animals needed care, and the daily work never ended. But now he noticed something different. People stopped to greet him, smile, or thank him for his actions. Some brought small gifts like baked bread or homemade scarves. The town's children often came to listen to his stories, learning how to act with courage and compassion. Even months later, every winter reminded the town of that blizzard. The memory of the storm was no longer frightening. Instead, it brought warmth and pride. The story of Tom's kindness became a lesson in courage and humanity, shared in schools, local gatherings, and family stories. For Tom, recognition was not the goal. His true reward was seeing others inspired to help, to act with kindness, and to be brave when it mattered most. The Miller family continued to visit, and every visit reminded everyone that small acts of courage could have a big impact. That winter, and in the years to follow, Tom's story became a symbol of hope. People remembered the farmer who had faced a blizzard without hesitation, who had chosen kindness over comfort, and who had shown that one person's actions could change the world around them. His legacy was not in awards or media attention, but in the hearts of those he had helped and the community he had inspired. And in the quiet of his snowy farm, Tom smiled every morning, knowing that helping others, no matter how small the act, was the greatest reward anyone could ever receive. Winter had settled over the town, and the fields around Tom's farm were covered in a thick, sparkling blanket of snow. Life had returned to a quiet rhythm after the blizzard, but the memory of that night remained alive in the hearts of everyone who had been touched by Tom's courage. Tom continued his daily work as always, waking early to feed the animals, check fences, and prepare for the day. But now his actions had taken on a new meaning. Neighbors often waved as he walked by, and children ran to see him after school. Many wanted to hear about the storm and the night he had helped the Miller family. Tom always smiled and told them simply, "I only did what I could. Anyone can help if they want to." The Miller family visited regularly. They shared meals, laughter, and warm conversations. Anna and Ben loved to ask Tom about the farm and his life, always eager to learn from him. "Mr. Tom, do you remember the night of the blizzard?" Anna asked one afternoon. Tom nodded, a gentle smile on his face. "Of course. It was a long night, but we were safe. That is what matters." The story of that night had grown beyond the town. Local newspapers and television stations had shared it, praising Tom's bravery and selflessness. Many people had written letters to him, thanking him for the inspiration he had given. Some even came to the farm offering kind words, baked goods, and small gifts. Tom accepted their gratitude humbly, saying, "Kindness is what matters most. We all have the power to help someone in need." One crisp morning, a letter arrived from the president's office. It was a personal note, recognizing Tom once again for his courage and the impact of his actions on the community. The letter praised him for showing that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. Tom carefully placed it on his kitchen table, feeling proud but calm. He did not seek fame, but he understood that the message of kindness was important. As winter continued, the town began a new tradition. Every year, on the anniversary of the blizzard, people gathered to remember the courage and compassion shown by Tom and to celebrate acts of kindness in the community. The children of the town learned the story in school, understanding that helping others was not about rewards but about doing the right thing. The Miller children grew up carrying the lesson Tom had taught them. They always remembered his calm, determined presence during the storm, his warmth, and his willingness to put others before himself. Anna often said, "I want to help people like Mr. Tom when I grow up." Ben agreed. "He is the bravest person I have ever known." Tom himself remained humble. Even as people called him a hero, he continued to live simply. He worked on the farm, helped neighbors, and offered support whenever he could. To him, the true reward was seeing people safe, happy, and inspired to do good. One winter evening, Tom walked to the top of a small hill near his farm. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold over the snow-covered land. He looked down at the town, remembering the blizzard, the fear, and the relief that had followed. The memory of the night filled him with quiet satisfaction. He had faced the storm, helped a family, and shared courage when it was most needed. The town had changed too. People were closer, neighbors helped each other more often, and kindness had spread like snow melting under the sun. Tom's simple act of helping during the blizzard had sparked a movement of care and courage that grew stronger each day. As the stars appeared in the night sky, the Miller family came to visit one last time before heading home. "We will never forget you, Mr. Tom," Mrs. Miller said softly. "You saved our family and showed us the true meaning of kindness." Tom smiled warmly. "You do not need to remember me. Remember what we did together and keep helping others. That is the greatest gift anyone can give." Anna and Ben hugged him tightly. "You will always be our hero," Anna whispered. Tom laughed gently, patting their heads. And you can be heroes too every day by being kind and brave. As they walked away, Tom looked out over the snow-covered fields. The blizzard had passed, but the lessons it left behind would last forever. Courage, kindness, and selflessness were stronger than fear. One person's actions could inspire many, and one simple act of help could change lives. Tom returned to his farm, tending to his animals, feeding the chickens, and preparing for the night. The snow reflected the moonlight, creating a peaceful, magical scene. He knew that his story was not about him. It was about the good that anyone could do. And that knowledge filled him with quiet happiness, knowing that the world was a better place because of a single night of courage and kindness.